Hi, this is R. Bhaskar from Bhaskar Ki Business Baatein. Actually, BKBB, because BKBB is the avatar of Bhaskar Ki Business Baatein, which deals with news behind the news. The original channel exists. It does policy analysis, conversations, and stories once a week. This one is a daily show at 8:15, and thank you for joining in. First of all, for all our Muslim friends in the audience, Eid Mubarak. It is your wonderful, it's your day, it's your festival. May you have a wonderful year ahead. We have with us our anchor, our co-anchor, Katya. There's Katya, you can see on the screen. Hi, Katya, thank you for being here. And we have three titles, which Katya and I will take up together. And the three titles are, the first one is about how Trump is making the whole world jittery. Trade jitters have been high. Two countries at least have decided to boycott American goods. And Trump has been railing against Yemen and Iran. The second title is, of course, on Vodafone and how Vodafone is being bailed out by the government by converting its debt into equity. And the third story is about how housing construction work has stalled, has slowed down very much, and how car manufacturers become very expensive in India. But let's go to the first story. Almost every paper has something on Trump because within 2 days, the new tariffs are supposed to kick into place. As a Bloomberg chart shows very well, the market is jittery. The jitters during Trump 2, his second term, are far in excess of the jitters in Trump 1. Clearly, the man has made the world a more nervous and worrisome place. At the same time, Trump has been railing against both Yemen and Iran, threatening to bomb them out of existence if they don't stop the bombing or support in the war against Israel. That is sad because he's been railing against everyone, one after another, but he's not raised a single voice against the massacre that took place yesterday as children in new clothes came out to celebrate Eid and they were bombed out of existence. Israel loves to talk about how its children were killed in the Holocaust. But today, it looks like they are not victims of Holocaust, they are the creators of Holocaust. Trump has to speak, otherwise his hands will be smeared with blood. Too much a massacre has taken place already. And in another development, both Canada and Denmark have decided to boycott US goods. In a way, suddenly, even the Western world is getting together to go against Trump. It is USA versus the rest of the world. The polarization is getting sharper, fiercer because of this disdain for law, disdain for order, disdain for humanity. And this is sad that I have to talk about this on a festive day like Eid is. It has nothing to do with the festival. It has something to do with humanity. And that takes me to the second title. In the second title, Katya, could you take us through the second title?
Air India in, Air India out, Vodafone in. The government has been converting the AGR dues issue to equity since 2021 now. Now it's the biggest chunk of equity, over 35,900 crores. And this is going to 36,950 crores. And this is going to be a very, very big thing, which will bring Vodafone's government's stake in it to almost 49%, and that is a very, very big chunk because already government is in the process of divesting its stakes in a lot of state-owned companies to bring in another private operator's equity into it. It actually doesn't show any road to how anything can improve within, even for the government or for Vodafone. For one point, for the first point being, it has started in 2021, and ever since, and the Vodafone, which has been losing its, it has been switching off many towers over time due to lack of resources. It has not picked up any stake, picked up any market. In fact, it has continued to lose market even when the other two operators, the cozy duopoly of Geo and Airtel, we've seen when they have increased prices, BSNL had started picking up a lot more, customers than Vodafone. It actually seems to be a non-zero sum game where nothing is moving, yet money is going into Vodafone, in spite of them, trying to improve their coverage. So, what do you think, sir? What do you think about the whole issue? Vodafone has always been contentious ever since its tax case and these issues and AGR issues. It was the biggest loser of it, and I don't think nothing is going to change because they have to improve their service drastically, which they've been unable to do. This is not the first equity infusion that has happened. Multiple equity infusions have happened. No market was picked up. There is a market for a third large player. What is government strategy in this?
Well, you see, but let's be fair to Vodafone.
Mm,
In 2000, I remember I took up a Vodafone subscription. I remained with Vodafone till about 2012, very happy with the service.
mm,
In 2012, a new entrant came in, Geo, and the rules of
mm,
telecom changed. And Vodafone was the most savagely hit. When you change rules in the midst of a business, businesses that have grown along lines of long term planning get hit very
mm,
badly.
mm,
And that was one crisis. The
mm,
second is the government slapped her taxes,
mm.
which it thought was unfair. And finally, Vodafone won the case through international arbitration. And I think the third thing, which is very interesting, this is my guess. When the government agrees to bail out Vodafone, it may have a strategy in mind. And the strategy could be maybe the governments realize how wrong it was in singling out Vodafone. It could be that all the Scandinavian countries have used Vodafone as a test case to decide whether India is investable or not. Or it could be that the government was the third player because the two big players have already decided to join Starlink and they want other players besides BSNL. We do not know the government's mind. But yes, you are right. It's a very intriguing move. At 49%, the government can change managements.
Right.
At 49%, the government can do many things. But the fact that the government is willing to convert debt into equity also is an indication the government realizes that its previous policies for the high charges for bandwidth, for spectrum, were wrong, which is now trying to revise by giving Starlink and others lower price spectrum. It's a realization of past wrongs which hurt Vodafone very badly. You are right. This we do not know what the outcome will be. There are many strings to the bow. Any of them could be the critical one. Thanks again. And that takes me to the third story. Very interestingly, two papers, the Free Press Journal as well as Economic Times, as well as Mint, talk about very interesting developments in the market. On the one hand, you have housing slowing down. Housing slowing down with the young population is counterintuitive. With a large young population, housing should be increasing, galloping. But the two things that seem to be hurting housing. One is the government's on and off policy constantly. The second is whenever the government is coming to housing, instead of doing housing on a large scale, it has decided to give small amounts and give it on lottery basis. On the one hand, the government bans gambling. On the other hand, the government is the biggest gambler. So when housing slows down, it means job creation will slow down. It means the churn of money in real estate will slow down. It could also point to the inability on the part of people to buy houses because of consumption crunch, because of money crunch, because of inflation. And inflation takes us to the next story, which is on the same slide. And that is a car which costs a certain amount is 25% costlier today to make, not to sell. If your price goes up at 25%, you can imagine what the inflationary pressures would have been on the industry. With inflation on the one hand, and the government's penchant of putting duties and duties and duties on items that people want to sell, goods become expensive, they will slow down the cycle of consumption even further. Both these news items are pointers to bleaker days ahead unless the government changes its policy, reduces its non-productive spending, concentrates on education and Medicare, and makes sure that it does not bleed companies and people white with excessive taxation. That, in a way, brings me to the end of today's podcast. One thing, please remember to click the subscribe button, click the like button, and do tell all your friends about us so that our audience increases. We need a larger audience, of course. We like more people to know what we think about, especially when it comes to analyzing government policy and global developments. And one more small thing. Have a great festival for everyone, for those whose festival it is today. And that brings me to the last thing. Please send in your questions. We take questions at the end of each session. And today, we are taking up 3 questions that have already come in. And the first question is, what options does global trade have? Several options. Global trade, like Denmark, like Canada, can penalize America for the irrational decisions it takes. Remember, America has walked up to the WTO and thinks that free trade is a joke. When you stop trade, you hurt countries. Even The Economist has come out with a headline saying that tariffs are going to hurt America more than anyone else. We've done a podcast on the same subject. And lastly, someone has to make America accountable for selling arms and causing massacres around the world. Vietnam was one. Iraq was another. Afghanistan was third. And now it is Gaza and Yemen. Okay, there's another question. Can India get its mojo back? Yes, it can. If people have more money to spend, they'll buy things. If the government taxes goods a little less, so they become cheaper in the market, people may buy things. If you create more jobs, people will have the money to buy things. And to create jobs, if you strengthen agriculture, you will create wealth with 50% of the people, and that will move the cycles of commerce in India. Okay, let's take the last question. What will the revised role of VI be? I don't know. As Katya rightly pointed out, VI, the government owns 49%. With 49%, the government can do many things to the company. The question is, will the government follow a sensible strategy, or will it be just capricious policies, one after another, allowing everyone to go down together? I don't know. This is a question for which I have no answer. I hope that India becomes stronger. I hope sensible policies prevail. I hope the industry can grow from strength to strength. Anyway, thank you once again. Thank you for being with us. Have a wonderful day ahead. And do tune in tomorrow. We'll be back again at 8:15. And lastly, my apologies for being 2 minutes late. I know I was late. We'll try not to be late. Take care. Have a wonderful day ahead. All the best.